Hello everybody and welcome to another Doctor Who review. This time, it's a second Doctor story, and one of the most psychedelic of the series. So, it's the Mind Robber I'm reviewing today, and in front of me as always is the television companion. So I'm just going to quickly read over the synopsis for the story. To escape from the volcanic eruption on Dulcis, the Doctor uses an emergency unit which moves the TARDIS out of normal time and space. The travellers find themselves in an endless void where they are menaced by white robots. Having regained the safety of the TARDIS, they believe they have escaped, until the ship suddenly explodes apart. Then they find themselves in a land of fiction, where they are hunted by life-size clockwork soldiers, and encounter characters like Rapunzel and Swift's Lemuel Gulliver. The domain is presided over by a man only known as the Master, a prolific English writer from 1926, who in turn is controlled by a master brain computer. Now the Master is desperate to escape and wants the Doctor to take his place, while the master brain plans to take over the Earth. The Doctor engages with the Master in a battle of wills, using a variety of fictional characters. Zoe and Jamie meanwhile succeed in overloading the master brain, and in the confusion, the white robots destroy the computer, finally freeing the Master. Now if you're looking for psychedelia, the Mind Robber is certainly up there in regards to being psychedelic. Now, it is written by Peter Ling, who's new to the series, and he worked on the Land of Fiction, quite a left field idea. Basically, the characters go into Land of Fiction, and that's what the story plot was all about there. So let's go into the main cast members. We have, of course, Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor. At this point, Troughton is at the height of his powers. He's found the character. He is lovable, bumbling, comedic, cosmic hobo, but still with that intelligent manipulation in the background. He's always one step ahead, or should be one step ahead of his foes that he's fighting. This one, he is slightly unsure. He's not sure, but he is starting to piece things together rather quickly, and you do see that on here. The idea of a Land of Fiction, you've got all these different mystical characters and mythical characters from the Land of Fiction that which I'll go into in a minute. Some are ones you recognise and some are ones that you don't recognise. But Troughton works very well here. There's one element in the 5th episode where Jamie and Zoe, who are in the characters as well, which I'll explain in a minute a bit more. There's a bit in there where Jamie and Zoe are actually crushed into book. And when they're crushed into the book, they effectively turn into fiction. And Patrick Troughton's Doctor escapes, climbs to the top of the castle where the control room is, this mystical castle where the control room is, and ends up having a moment of sadness, and you see that on there. It's a great bit of a little bit of emotion that you notice there before the action moves on at quite a pace. And the action does move on at quite a crack, and I'll go into the production bit in a minute. But then you've got Jamie, played by Fraser Hines, and Hamish Wilson. Now the reason it's played by two characters is because Fraser Hines, who is the main Jamie, he contracted chickenpox during the second week of the episode being filmed, for the second episode. So he was replaced by Hamish Wilson, another Scottish actor, who I believe happens to be a cousin, distantly, of Fraser Hines. He plays it quite well for about an episode and a bit in a kind of Glaswegian drawl. But basically what happens to get that happening is quite imaginative. So what happens is that Jamie meets Redcoat, the Redcoat shoots him, and Jamie becomes faceless in a kind of cardboard cutout. The Doctor has to put his face back together, and he puts it back wrongly, and it turns into Hamish Wilson's Jamie instead of Fraser Hines' Jamie. And then it's reversed again the following week, and Fraser Hines comes back, and it's quite a clever way of doing it, and quite a clever way of getting around the fact that you have a missing companion, a missing character. But Fraser Hines works as Jamie. There's elements where this Highlander training where you indicate he doesn't really read. He's been able to read because he reads bits off a kind of computer with ticker tape later on about what's happening, a master computer that Jamie stumbles across in the control bit, a computer room in the base, in the layer for the Master. And I'll come back to the Master in a minute. Then you've got Zoe, played by Wendy Padbury. Now, Zoe is still trying to find her feet as a character at this point, but there are some elements where you think the brainy know-it-all is turning into slightly a bit more of a damsel in distress at times. But she does a good job, Wendy Padbury. There's scenes where she's screaming and she falls through a door at one point, which is really good acting, because obviously it was just a mat below her, but she falls quite well. She's stuck in a jar at one point, but she's got one bit that's really quite good, and that's the fighting scene that she does, because she fights a character that's created for the story called the Carcass, who apparently comes from the 21st century telepress, which is kind of like a comic from the 21st century that they created here. This character is played by Christopher Robbie, who's over 6 foot, but he's wearing a muscle suit. And there's a fight scene between a diminutive Zoe, who's just about 5 foot, and the Carcass in the fight there. And it's quite a good little fight, and a few tumbles and moves about, and I did enjoy it. I think it's quite a fun little story and quite a fun little moment in that. Then you've got the guest cast. You've got the Master, played by Emrys Jones. Not Emrys Hughes. I said Emrys Hughes in a previous review, previous attempt at this. Emrys Jones, who is a well-known actor, Welsh actor, who's under retirement age at that point, but he's playing the Master. So basically a 1920s writer who's taken into this world by the Master Brain and becomes the Master. And you can see a split personality when the Master computer comes through him, and then you've got the main character, the main writer guy himself, who he plays as well, who comes through later. And you can see the two characters, and he plays both of them very well. And I do like the sparring match that the Doctor and the Master have in the last couple of episodes in regards to trying to fight for supremacy of the world and trying to defeat people. You've then got some guest cast members. You've got Christine Peary, who plays Rapunzel. Very small part, but I love the fact that her hair is used to climb the castle walls by Jamie, and then used later on for the Doctor to climb down into the control room, the computer room, to look at the Master computer. Then you've got the character of Gulliver, Lemuel Gulliver, played by Bernard Horsfall, who is actually, and I said that right, Bernard Horsfall, there we are, who actually becomes quite a favourite of David Maloney, the director, over the years, and is better known as playing one of the Time Lords in the War Games and Chancellor Goth in the Deadly Assassin. But those are two stories that I'll review in time, so don't worry about that. But he plays Gulliver really good, and I like the fact that Peter Ling has included some of Gulliver's speech patterns and the ways Gulliver talks, and he actually talks some phrases from the book, Gulliver's Travels, and uses that as part of the character, and I think that's quite a clever way of writing around it. Quite interesting production values in this one. Further, one of the biggest things is that every episode is less than 20 minutes, or just one of them's just over 20 minutes, but the shortest episode of Doctor Who ever was 18 minutes, just over, and that's episode 5 of The Mind Robber. But part of the reason for that is because they didn't actually budget for 5 episodes for The Mind Robber, they only budgeted for 4, because there was supposed to be 6 episodes of the previous story, The Dominators, but it ended up being 5, so they had an extra episode they had to do something with. So Derek Sherman got with Peter Ling and wrote an extra episode at the beginning where they're stuck in a place of nowhere with the TARDIS after escaping the lava flows from the Dominators, because Dulcus had been a localised eruption and there's lava flow over the TARDIS. They managed to escape into this land of fiction, and this is how they've started the story. And the premise of the land of fiction is really quite wonderful, because of all the characters that I've mentioned previously. But also, I do enjoy the story for the plot line. Peter Ling is quite out there. He's very psychedelic in some of the elements that you're seeing in the story, and you can see that quite a lot in the episode itself. It really does work. But it really is one of these stories where you can, if you need to take your brain out, do so, because it's very simple. It's a simple story, really, but the way it works and the mystery and the puzzle is really quite good, and the way they got round the fact of the Fraser Hines situation with his chickenpox is really creative, and certainly one of the best creative ways I've seen of a character being taken out, or an actor being taken out for a couple of days. And it wasn't a holiday situation, because Doctor Who used to have these characters where they went on holiday, so they used to have pre-filmed inserts and things like that, so the actors would take a week's break from filming, even if it was the middle of an episode, middle of a story. But this one was unforeseen, and it's a great way of covering it, and very imaginative the way they've done some of the characters. They've got Medusa, you've got a unicorn, you've got the Minotaur, you've got Rapunzel, of course, you've got D'Artagnan, you've got all these different characters, and they really do work, and it's great to see them all showing up and showing what they can do as fictional characters. And most of them are pretty quiet, pretty lame, and very, there just to drive the story along, but there is an interesting couple of characters have been written there, especially Gulliver. It's very clever how that it's used with Jonathan Swift's original text is used for some of the dialogue that Gulliver actually spouts in the story. Overall, there isn't really any music. In fact, there barely is any music. I think it's very basic sound effects. I don't think there is any music, if I remember correctly. So it's a very music-light story. But overall, I do like the story. I do like watching it on a regular basis. And I would give it 4 TARDISes out of 5. That's it. Thank you very much for watching this review. Tell me what you think of the Mind Robber. Give me your ideas and your information and what you think of the Mind Robber. Leave a comment down below. Check out all the rest of the Deanstructor reviews of Doctor Who that have gone on. There's 6 others so far. So if you want to find out my thoughts of something like The Green Death or The Visitation, check out the playlist below as well. It's also up in the top corner here, or that corner. I can't remember, it's that way, I think. But yes, don't forget to subscribe as well if you like what you see. Click that notifications bell. There is a video every Sunday at 4 PM GMT. Who Week is the 3rd Sunday of every month. Starts on the 3rd Sunday of every month. So another Doctor Who review will be next time round. But next week is an Odd Week video, and I'm going to do a Kidstructor reaction. And this time it's for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or Hero Turtles as it was in the UK. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you later.